Hi there, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. I love the fact that when I moved here to Austin, Texas, that there was a poet, Tom Woodruff, who had started a reading space at Half Price Books, 5555 North Lamar. It was first Wednesdays. You would show up from 1 to 3 in the afternoon on the first Wednesday of the month, and you go round robin doing 10-minute mini feature readings, and there'd be themes, and I often would say I think I would like to share material from new books because of course I am a publisher and I run 2 magazines, so I would be reading things from brand new literary magazines which are published as Amazon Books, Perfect Bound, ISBN, Amazon Books every month. And I would also have issue collection books, whether they were from either magazine. I would have those, or I would have annual books that would have tons of material in them, so I would always want to be sharing material from new books, especially when I'm in a big old bookstore, which is why I'm here in a library space, probably in the last week in the beginning of 2021, where I will have a Christmas tree behind me. But I thought that I would share with you some poetry from one of the sections of the Down the Dirt September to December 2020 issue collection book that is titled Late Frost. Late Frost. It's got a kind of groovy, cool, frozen branch from a tree that probably wasn't taken in Austin, Texas, but it is very reflective of the season, which is very appropriate for the season that everybody's be picking up this book right at the end of the year. So I thought I would read material from one of the sections of the book, maybe the End of the World section, one of the middle sections of this Down the Dirt book. And because Tom Woodruff would have a scattering of sunglasses and reading glasses all over the place. You can't see them behind me, but there's a table behind me that has a stack of reading glasses of all of Tom's. But I thought on a whim I would take one and put it on and say, do I seem to like match the mood? So we'll see if that works for you guys. But I'm going to read material from this one section of the book, the End of the World section, as it is called, which, how funny, the first poem that is in this End of the World section I'm going to share with you is called Valkyrie Attempts. And if anybody knows what Valkyrie is, you already know where this is going. This was written on the 14th of October, and it was for the October 14th, 1944 date of the suicide of Erwin Rommel. This is all about Rommel. Oh yeah, gotta give it up for our World War II stuff. This is a piece that's called Valkyrie Attempts. In the absence of orders, go find something and kill it. People have credited me with these infamous words, but in the art of war, you have to make yourself useful. How can you want to kill something if you love it so? So if I love the Fuhrer, and I do, then why would I want him dead? I oppose assassinating Hitler, at least initially. I may have been hopelessly naive to ask for one last chance to end the hostilities with Western allies, but my letter to him took 2 weeks to arrive after 17 July, when an Allied air attack incapacitated me. That wasn't my way of exiting their Valkyrie attempts 3 days later. I had no idea of their plans. I believed they wanted my support, but I could not give it, even if I thought the war was now a hopeless war. But if I knew of the conspirators and said nothing, if I did not report them and I had them all killed, then I am a conspirator too, just as guilty as the conspirators who repeatedly called out my name in a delirium. Maybe I am as guilty as a conspirator who, only after torture, named me as a participant. I did not know my name was on a list of the potential Reich presidents after Hitler's upheaval, but if I knew it was the end, I would only look for ways to help Germany survive. If that meant I could take the helm, then so be it. But conspirator or not, I never wanted to kill him. Never. But After they surveilled me, I knew that they wanted me killed. But I think Hitler knew that his court of military honor was only a drumhead court-martial that everyone knew was fake. That I was too high up in the military ladder to be thought of as against the Nazis. Executing me as a traitor would ruin the morale of the front line. So they came to me and offered me 3 choices. They told me I could, 1, go to Hitler himself and plead my case. 2, I could go through this trial that I knew would mean not only my execution and disgrace, but also my staff and my family too. Or 3, I could take my own life. I think they all knew that by not choosing option 1, that this ensured I was guilty, but how could I plead my case when I didn't support or kill the conspirators myself? My family would have suffered even before a trial began, and I wanted my wife to live. I wanted her to have money for her life and my family without me. So I took the option 3, so that after I died, I would be given a military honors. Because really, I was a hero. I was never involved in a plot. I loved the Fuhrer. After I'm gone, burn my body, so there will be no evidence of my true end. Your ultimatum. I may be an absolute pessimist when I face the slightest problem, but I was a strong leader, and my initiative stopped enemy forces. I took them by surprise. What was constant was my love for Germany. Remember that. It's very strange to read poems that are related to events from the perspective of people who were SS soldiers and Nazis and effectively portray their feelings and their situation when we want to say that they're just so terrible. But the thing is, there are 43 sides to every coin, and it takes a lot of work to be able to come up with these things, because the next poem I'd like to share with you from this was written on the 7th of October for the birthday of Heinrich Himmler. Yeah, I got you another one. Lucky you, I got you another World War II reference. This is because of the birthday of Himmler, and this is a poem that's called Kill with Impunity. I always knew I was bound for something better. My parents told me that I had my godfather's name, Prince Heinrich of Bavaria. This only fed into my head that I was meant for greatness. I did very well in school, but no matter how many weights I lifted, I always awkwardly fumbled and could never be as strong and as cunning as the other boys in school. But the thing is, I had the brains. I had to prove them wrong. During World War I, my father got me in with his connections as an officer, but only while I was still in training did the war end, and I could never show how strong I really was. At Munich University, München, I studied agronomy, even remaining cordial to all my League of Apollo fencing fraternity, even though some of them, including the fraternity's president, were Jewish. They made my blood boil. They made me want to fight. So I decided to resume my attempt at a military career, but I was unsuccessful there too. So I'll try to paramilitary in Munich until I met Ernst Röhm, who showed me my new path. You see, he was an early member of the Nazi Party and would co-found the Brown Shirts, aka the SA, the Storm Battalion. but I knew that I was not meant to fight, that if I wasn't meant to fight, I must be meant to lead. And so, lead I would. If all those muscle-bound bullies at school thought I was awkward, let them see me now, and let them see the cruel power I now wield. I have the power to make men kill with impunity. I always paid attention to social and political issues as I grew up, and now I was seeing all of my learning come to fruition as I saw more and more that the Jews were the problem. After all these years, I've now found the man who will bring us all together to make Germany a better place for all of our peoples, as long as we get rid of the ones who don't belong. Because, after all, I've learned about the world, and after all the changes I've wanted to see, if I didn't have the muscle to do it on my own, I'll use a system to show you my real power. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, that's a tough one to pull off, reading these things and acting like a hard-ass SS leader. I don't know. I've got 2 more poems I think that I would like to share with you. No, maybe 3. I'll share with you 3 more poems, and they're not about World War II, I promise. I promise, I promise, I promise. This first one was written on the 13th of October, and it's for Good Samaritan Day. So if you want to know when Good Samaritan Day is, it's October 13th. And nice to have a Christmas tree behind me while I'm reading this one. This is a poem that's called No Bother. While visiting family in Southwest Florida in my teen years, I sat outside in the sun next to the public pool until I heard splashing. I opened my eyes. A man was teaching his son how to swim. They, like me, visited family here in the heat during holiday season. I wanted to cool off in this public pool, and this forgiving father was trying to teach his 15-year-old special needs son how to swim a lap. Now, I swim, and I felt a bit exasperated that they both struggled so. So when I got in the pool, I asked the father if I could try to help teach his boy to swim. I think I caught him off guard, hesitant but hopeful. So I talked to his son about swimming the width of the shallow end. I think he knew how to turn his head to get some air, but he was lost on what to do with his arms. Your arms are buckets, I told him. So arc your arms and scoop that water past you. And pretty soon he was getting the hang of swimming and fought the water less. So I enjoyed the pool, now in silence, before I went on my way. Whenever that father came back to visit and would see me there, he would thank me profusely. But what I did that day, for what I did, I just knew that I knew how to swim, and really, it was no bother. I think people think that doing things like this, at times like this, I think people think of doing things like this at times like this, but they never act on it. Their thoughts never percolate into reality. And the thing is, it can happen if you just act on what you believe, and you'll see how much better life can feel while doing these small acts. Okay, 2 more for you that are peace related, but they might actually say a message like a poem should. So I hope that you appreciate them. This first one is actually written on the 2nd of October for the 150 year 1869 birthday of Mahatma Gandhi. Walking through New Delhi, I photographed the statues of Mahatma Gandhi leading the salt march to the ocean to get salt from there for free, after Britain said that they had to buy their heavily taxed salt instead. Why pay for something under British tyranny when we could just walk the 390 kilometers to the ocean and get the salt ourselves? 80 started the Dandi March that grew to over 50,000 because so many protested the British imposed salt tax. This was the initiation of the civil disobedience movement that led to Britain leaving India. I left New Delhi, paid my way in Vishakhapatnam with money emblazoned with that picture of Mahatma Gandhi's walk, and it made me think of the history and the historic protests and acts of civil disobedience that changed the world. And then I think of the marches that occur with amazing regularity in the city I now reside. And I forget what all the protests are even all for anymore. There seem to be just so many, and from what I can tell, nothing comes from this kind of civil disobedience any longer. It seems that everyone wants to jump on the protest bandwagon, and one protest after another leads to people walking together, feeling good about themselves, thinking that they've made a difference, and posting the Instagram pics of them making a difference on Facebook, Twitter, Pinterest, and every other online medium to prove it, when nothing actually changes. I know that leading by example alone is hardly the solution, but the 21st century walking in unison may no longer accomplish anything other than stroking walkers' egos. This may be the dilemma in modern times, when too many people see a problem and do not know what to do other than to walk. What is the walk accomplishing other than improving your health and making you feel morally superior? Because I'm positive Mahatma Gandhi, opting to weave his own clothes instead of buying his clothes to support a system he didn't believe in, he didn't do it so that he could feel all high and mighty. People now take a break from their day to participate in a march, and then they go back to their everyday lives. Mahatma Gandhi changed his life. The march was only a part of the story, and as a result, he changed the world too. Mahatma Gandhi didn't jump on a bandwagon or join others to protest for change. He started that journey himself, which he still does, and all those who start those journeys too, to this day. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. Yeah, sorry for the message. And we've got one more that's going to be message-oriented, one more poem for you from this section, the End of the World section. How appropriate that these are in the End of the World section of this Down in the Dirt collection book. This last poem for you was written on the 4th of October, 10/4, which is World Animal Day. World Animal Day. So check it out. This is a piece that's called Noble Cause. The television advertisements accost me, pulling on our philanthropic heartstrings, asking for money to support all animals who have been abused or mistreated. Don't get me wrong, this is a noble cause, but it fills me with so much anger every time I see that commercial, because I'm sure they ask for money from meat eaters who have no problem with the mass slaughter of millions of animals daily for their food. But a cute puppy or a kitty cat, that is just crossing the line. All I think is that these advertisements underlyingly suggest that we protect animals we have deemed cute or appropriate as pets that humans have forced into submitting to our now domesticated society. but they never address the factory farming of cows, chickens, pigs. We decided that these animals are soulless enough that we can never have to consider their welfare. These animal advertisements may have the right idea, but they should speak for the voice of on every day, not just today. They should speak for the voiceless on every day, not just today. Unlike these advertisements, I want to improve the future for all animals, not just your select few. I think that is something that is missing from poetry sometimes. You talk about, oh, beautiful wildlife, everything is lovely, or historical stuff with talking about World War II. But poetry is often a political message as well, and those last three were so political messages in and of themselves. How to do nice things for other people, how to actually work to make change and don't just jump on a bandwagon and think that you're cool for it, or to actually help all animals when you've got ads that are telling you, oh, help these animals because they're like your pet if you own one. That's sad. But that is the point of poetry as well, to force people to think. So I hope that you guys appreciated that. This was from the End of the World section. The section that happens to be called The End of the World of the Down the Dirt September to December 27, 2020 issue collection book that is titled Late Frost. And I hope you enjoyed this reading. There's a ton of good material in these things. I may read some in some other readings today for you guys during the usual community poetry time. Even though we can't be out sharing poetry at a bookstore, I can be sharing them with books and sharing them with you now. I hope you appreciate them, and I hope you guys all keep thinking. Stay safe, everyone, and as I said, keep thinking. Thank you so very much for listening. Thank you, thank you, thank you.